Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Tuesday call, the Cash Flow Empire. So we like to bring experienced people like Italo tonight, right? So Italo, he's the director, the investor relations from Multifamily Empire. He's also co-hosting the Real Grind Show. That's an amazing podcast, and he's originally from Brazil. And then he's right now in the US, killing it in the journey and as a GP, as an investor relation, just taking assets, right? So we're partnered in couple assets here in DFW area, but I don't want to ruin the surprise and all the value that he's going to bring for everybody. So I'm going to start the conversation like this. Italo, just share with everybody who is Italo Martins and then, why you're here.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, just want to say thank you for inviting me to your show here, man. This is amazing. I've been part of one of them with me in there before, just watching and got to talk to a lot of people here. I don't remember if there is anybody here that was part of the breakout rooms with me, which added a lot of value. So keep doing what you guys are doing. This is amazing. Thank you for the opportunity. I see some familiar faces here. Tammy, very nice seeing you again. And also, Joshi, thank you for everything. And Jonathan, thank you as well. So no further ado, my name is Italo Martins, and I was born and raised in Brazil, and currently I'm the Director of Investor Relations at Multifamily Empire, like you said, a co-host of the Real Grind Show. But everything started somewhere, right? And my story is no different than y'all's. Like everything started when I was in Brazil. I was 13 years old, and I told my mom that I wanted to go to the US one day, and she, being from a small town, she basically said, well, if you want to go, I'll pack your bags and you go on your own, because she was afraid of airplanes and all that stuff. So I told her, one day you will pack my bags and I'll go. And I was just a 12, 13-year-old kid. And every single one of us in here have something in common, which is a dream, right? Everybody chases a dream. Everybody's chasing something. And it was no different for me when I was 12, 13 years old. So I basically would always be watching stuff from America, like even if it's just music videos or seeing some of my cousins that would go to Disney World. They were wealthy at the time, and they would come back with like merchandise, Disney stuff. And I was always just asking my mom, can we please go? Can we please go? And the answer was always no, but mostly because of the financial situation. We were being raised in Brazil, and when I was 18 years old, the opportunity kind of showed up itself, and I got a phone call from a friend of mine, and she basically said, hey, there's an exchange student program in the US that they basically pay for everything for you to go to the US. And I didn't think twice. I was like, let's do it. And it was through the YMCA in Brazil, and the requirement for it was to speak English. Guess what? I didn't speak jack English back then. And I fake it until I made it. I would ask people like, how do I say this? And my sentences during this program was basically 5 words just to explain myself and get by. And I did get approved on this program. And I called my mom right there and then when I got the results, and she was like, what's up? And I said, guess what? She's like, what? You better pack my bag. She's like, for what? Because I'm going to the US. She's like, no, you're not. I was like, yes, I am. And at that time, that's when I realized that I wasn't made to be stationary. I wasn't made to just be in one place. And I did. I came to the US in 2003. I went to Oklahoma, Enid, Oklahoma. I don't know if anybody knows where that is, but it's a tiny, tiny, tiny little town in Oklahoma. And I had the best time of my life. I felt like I was in the movies back then. And many things happened. I went back to Brazil, continued the program now as an instructor for the program, as a volunteer. Went to Connecticut in 2004. And then in 2005, I decided to stay in Brazil and work on my field. I'm an IT engineer. So 2005 was one of the slowest years to get by in my life. And I knew the answer right there and then. I needed to go back to the US. I need to come back here. And I had made some good connections back in 2004 to the point where I spoke to this friend of mine and I asked, do you have a spot for me at the summer camp where you're working at? She's like, absolutely. Let me get you an interview, but it's yours. The position is yours. So came back to the US, went to Connecticut, actually New York, upstate New York. I was in upstate New York for about 2 years working as a team building counselor type of deal. So I'll have groups of people ranging from 7 years old all the way through 60, but I was working as a team building instructor pretty much. And next thing you know, I moved to Florida. I was in Florida for about 2 years, but when I got to Florida, my cousin said that he would kind of help me out. And I started working as a valet. Within 2 weeks of being a valet, I got promoted to a valet manager. So I was like, this is strange, but okay, I'll take the job. So next thing you know, my cousin was hanging out with me. He's like, hey, I want to introduce you to some people. And the people that he introduced me to liked me. And the guy's like, hey, stop working as a valet manager. Why don't you come work for me at this office? And being Florida, that place is hot. And I was like, heck yeah, I want to go work in an office. So I was working in the office. They fired the paralegal and they're like, Italo, do you want to learn how to be a paralegal? I was like, I have no idea how American law works. They're like, we'll teach you, but I can see in you that you can learn. So I was working as an accountant and as a paralegal. And in that time, that's when my green card came out. And I went back to Brazil, saw my family after 3 years. It was great. My dad asked me, hey, can you come back to go on vacation with us? I was like, absolutely. I'll ask my boss. And he gave me the go ahead. And we were going to go on vacation on July 18th, 2009. I was leaving Florida on the 15th, on the 16th in the morning. But on the 15th at night, I get a call from my buddy. And he's like, hey, your mom is looking for you. And I was like, what's up? She's like, just call your mom. And I called my mom. And my mom was like, hey, come to Brazil right now. I was like, Mom, I'm leaving tomorrow morning. She's like, you need to come back like right now. I was like, what's going on? She's like, your dad is not well. And basically I just asked her like, did it happen? She said it did. I was like, well, there's nothing I can really do right now. There's no planes leaving Florida at this moment, but I'll be there tomorrow. And basically it happened. My dad had passed away one day before I went back to Brazil. But I made it there and it was very tough being home because I told my mom's like, I want to stick around. I want to be here for you. And she's like, no, remember when you told me that that was your dream? Don't stop it. Keep chasing it. I'll be here. I'll be fine. And I did just that. So I came back to Florida and I wanted to join the army, but my mom almost had a baby when I told her over the phone. She's like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. And me being a good son, I was like, I cannot do this against her will. You know, like she's asking me for this. And basically from that, I decided to go back to my roots, which was IT. And I got a job here in Dallas with BlackBerry when BlackBerry was a great thing. And I worked there for a little bit, then worked for HP, worked for Dell, worked for AA, worked for many IT companies, but I was never happy with just working as an IT. You make great money, but that never really fulfilled, that never really filled my cup. So I was still trying to find out what really, really filled my cup, what really was like motivating for me. And I started surrounding myself with people that really were just honest with me. Like they were just giving me not just, I don't want to say compliments, but they would basically look at me and tell me what my strengths were. And they're like, why don't you explore this? And that's when I started doing CrossFit back in 2013. And one of my friends, his name is Clay. Oh, hold on. When I was working at Dell, I started working 2 jobs because I realized how much taxes I was being taken away. And I started working as a waiter at Joe T. Garcia's. I don't know how many of you is familiar with Fort Worth, the stockyards, but I was working at Joe T. Garcia's for a long time. But that really filled my cup. Like working as a waiter for me was so rewarding, even though Dell paid me 3-4 times more. Every day I would wake up, work at Dell until 3 p.m. and I would just jet from Carrollton all the way to the stockyards just to talk to people, to serve people, and to see their reaction every time I gave them a good service. And I start kind of like thinking about it. It's like, what's going on here? Because I'm so good at IT, but yet this fills my cup more. What's going on? And this buddy of mine, Clay, one day he came just to support a friend. You know, he came to eat at the restaurant and everything went great. And 2 weeks later, he's like, hey, buddy, why don't you come work for me? I was like, I don't even know what you do, man. Like, to be honest with you. And he's the vice president of a recruiting company, medical recruiting company. And he kept asking me to go. I was like, no, it's not the time. It's not the time. And then 2019 came about and he pulled me in. He's like, you coming. There's no way I can leave you out because I need people like you. And I didn't really understand that message back then. I was like, well, he's my friend. I guess he's just trying to help me out, right? And Went there, started working there. Within less than 6 months, they put me into a management program to be a manager, to manage all the people that have been there for a long time. But I never really understood the reason why I was being put in this position where I was the person in charge of other people. And fast forward a little bit, I was working there still, and me and Neander has been friends for a long time. I don't know how many of you know this guy that has the Real Grind shirt right there on the camera. We've been friends for a long time, and he asked me to come and work with him one day at one of the Bread Some Rocks event. And I came in as a helper, and next thing you know, he's like, "I need you to be a stage manager." I was like, "I don't even know what a stage manager does. Like, what's going on here?" It was basically like when I didn't know English and I was just faking my way around it. But he asked me to be a stage manager just to take care of the people that would come in, people of high caliber. And I was like, I'm scared, man. I'm scared. But Neander has always been the guy that was next to me, just like all these other guys that were like, I see it in you. Just believe it. I see it. Just go and grab it. Like, this is the opportunity for you. And oh my God, man, that has been one of the nicest gigs I've ever done. I got to meet in person like Pete Vargas, Brad Sumrock, Grant Cardone, Robert Kiyosaki, you name it. Like all these big names will come to me and just have conversations like I'm talking to you guys right now. And from that, I was still working my recruiting job, and Neander made me the offer to come and work at Multifamily Empire to be the director of investor relations. And I was like, but why? He's like, because you're good with people. You're always good with people. You know how to work the room. Like you can talk to anybody. You're flexible. You're not headstrong. Like you're there and you can be the light of the room. Like you just have that in you. Have you seen it? And I was like, not really. It's like, well, we have that power. Why don't you believe in it? Make the best out of it. So that's why right now at this point, I want to ask you guys, like, do you know what your calling is? Because that's when I realized what my calling was. But it wasn't a self-realization. Other people had to tell me, like, hey, you're good at this. Why don't you like polish it up a little bit? Like this is in you. It's embedded in you. It's easy for you. Just go and grab it. So that's what I ask all of you guys right now. Like, think about it. Maybe sometimes we're trying something so hard, but we're missing the opportunity that's right in front of you. That's something that is super easy for you to do and accomplish. But sometimes we just don't realize it, you know? So my message today for y'all is like, keep showing up. Because if you really think about all the stories I just told y'all, everything happened because I kept showing up and I kept surrounding myself with the right people, people that wanted me to grow, people that wanted to see the best of me. But in exchange, what I had to give to them was the best version of me, right? So investor relations is no different. Investors will come to you because you're giving the best to them. You keeping communications open. You being reliable. You're the one that's going to be nurturing that relationship all the time. This is in multifamily, in anything in life, basically anything in life. Make sure you keep showing up. Make sure people can trust you. Make sure your word is worth it, because that's all we have at the end of the day, your word. And investor relations is no different. People will come and look for me. People will come and ask me stuff. Even if I don't know the answer, I'll try to look for the answer for them. Make sure you're that person that they know you're reliable, that they know that you can go and get the answers for them, or just help them fix an issue or help them cross that finish line, like Jonathan said in the beginning, because everybody sometimes just need a holding hand of somebody that they trust to take that first step forward, right? So whenever people look for deals that you're raising capital for and all that stuff, guess what? A lot of times they can be doing deals with anybody else, but they will choose you because they trust you. Look at how many restaurants we have in Dallas. I will use Dallas here because I'm here, but look how many restaurants you have in your city. Why do you always go eat at a certain restaurant? Everybody else serves food, right? But if you go to a certain restaurant all the time, it's because you like the server, you like the service. Sometimes the food is awful, but you like the presence of the certain people at that restaurant. You like the bartender, you know? Same thing goes with what we do. Investors will come back to us because they like us, they trust us, our values, our core values, the way you treat them. You make them feel like they belong, they're part of something great. They see your purpose. And that's no different, guys, investor relations. So whenever you're building relationship, make sure you're there for them, just like you would want them to be there for you. It's a two-way street, you know, and that's gonna go so far. That's gonna go so far. That's gonna take you places that you, you don't even realize, you know. So what's in common on these things? Like I said, keep showing up, find out what your calling is, because a lot of times we're just beating our heads against a wall. That's truly not it, you know. And that took me, Jesus, that took me 35 years to realize a little bit of what my calling was. 35. So I've been doing pretty much a little bit of this investor relations stuff without even know I was an investor relations type of guy for the past 5, pretty much. So think about it.
Hey, Italo, I have a question because you keep saying investor relations. Now, I know what that is, right? But for our people that are on the call that don't know about multifamily, that they're new, that they're starting in multifamily, what is investor relations? How long did it take you to get to where you are? Killing it in the game, guys. If you guys don't know Italo, he's freaking killing it. He's one of the most genuine people I have met. So how long did it take you to get to where you are right now in investors relations, to learn it? What is investors relations, right?
Basically, investor relations will be the bridge between somebody that's like, for example, in our company, Neander and Delia, they're the CEOs, right? I'll be the bridge between them and the investors most of the time, right? So a lot of times they're so busy doing so many things, finding deals, running the business, that I'm the one that basically I'm responsible for most of the communications with the investors. I keep them pretty much like if they need to do anything on the portal, in the investor portal, if I need to walk them through anything, if they need any paperwork, if they need any tax documents, anything they need as far as the company can provide them, they'll come to me. So I'm pretty much that the liaison in the company for basically anything an investor need. Can be from starting to invest, can be from like, hey, what's this deal? I'll present the deal to them. Hey, can I go see the property? I'll take them to the property. So basically, you're just carrying it to that investor and pretty much showing them what the company is all about. Because if you really look at it, a lot of times Neander, Delia, other people in the company are so busy doing other things that it's not that they don't want to give them the time, but they're just busy making sure everybody's making money, the properties are running well. There's so many things that they do. So I take pretty much all that pressure off from them, and I'm pretty much on the driver's seat for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And how long, sorry, John, how long did it take you to get to investors relations? Because like I said, we have a lot of new people and they're like, sometimes they think that they need all this experience, right? To get to investors relations when in reality, well, I'll let you tell them.
Absolutely. Like I said, I've been doing investor relations without even know I do investor relations since 2014 when I was a waiter. Guess what? When you're a waiter, you investor relations, they invest in your restaurant and you give them back the product, right? So that's basically what investor relations is. So when I was a recruiter, when I was a medical recruiter, I was in investor relations because the doctor can work with any hospital they want. But once they get in touch with you and you build that relationship and they start trusting you, guess what? They want to work with you, for you. Same thing goes into the multifamily sector now, that's where I'm at. So I've been doing the actual investor relations as a title at Multifamily Empire for the past 2 years now. And so I would say, I can't really say that's just 2 years, but basically a lot of us do investor relations. We just don't see it. We just never really like stop to think about it, you know?
Yeah, that was a really good answer. No, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, we have something in common, man, that I actually didn't know, right? I mean, I work as a bartender, I work as a server,
Nice.
and I still remember myself, right? The first time, the first job, I was a server at the time, so but I want to be a bartender because I knew that it's more money, right?
Absolutely.
So and then you brought up the faking until you make it, right? So I remember the first time I applied to be a bartender, no experience, but of course I told them, hey, I know about this because I know that they will train me, right? So I got actually the training, and thanks to that training, whenever I applied to another job, actually I got it, and I was really good in that, right? But that's a love that I enjoy, right? Just a connection with people and everything, but you're just coming back to this this part of the faking until you make it, right? So, and I want to get your thoughts on this. So, do you think that this faking until you make it is leading people to the the imposter syndrome, or actually is leading to the self-confidence? What do you think?
It depends. That's a very tricky question, right? That's a double sword question there, because you can fake it until you make it, but guess what? In that process, you can probably burn bridges because if you're not being true, if you're not really learning to really show the results afterwards, the curtain's gonna open at some point, right? So for me, in this case, when I said fake, I faked it until I made it. When it came to my English, for example, I was learning every day. I was here. I had no Brazilians around me, so I had to pretend that I was understanding. I would just say yes and no to people because that's all I knew. But little by little, I started learning. Guess what? Next thing you know, I was like, hey, I actually understand now. I actually can speak it. But if I didn't evolve in my English, I don't think I would have made this far, right? But on the same time, like you said, it can create an imposter, like the imposter syndrome type of deal, because a lot of people are faking it, but they're not making it, you know? And once you're out, man. It's a small world. A lot of people, like especially now with social media, it's a very dangerous game to fake until you make it when it comes to other people's money, when it comes to other people's precious values and all that. So you got to be very careful when it comes to telling people what you're good at, because it's going to come up and you're going to need to show up, right? So make sure you can back up what you're saying, because it's very important that your word is all you have nowadays. Like your word is worth more than money nowadays, I would say, because money, it's somewhat easy to make. Just go get 2 jobs, 3 jobs, you make money. But is that you're going to be living your lifestyle that you want? Most likely not. You're gonna sacrifice time, you're gonna sacrifice family time, you're gonna sacrifice your health, right? So make sure you make the right choices, make wise choices, because our word is worth way more than money.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So I want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier, because it was something that I struggled with at the beginning once I started multifamily, right? My forte is not numbers, right? So I had started a team and they had me underwriting. So you can imagine how that went. I hated it, right? Until eventually I found the Cash Flow Empire, right? And then one of the girls were like, "You're really good at social media." And I'm like, "No, I'm not." She was like, no, you're really good at social media. And I'm like, again, no, I'm not. And she was like, you'll be really good at social media. I'm going to talk to Jonathan and Sergio. And I'm like, I don't have any marketing experience. Like, I'm just doing this because I like it. I don't know if I'm good at it. So that's actually, I love that you mentioned that, because sometimes we don't know what our superpower is. We don't know what our strengths are. And it took for John and Sergio to be like, okay, like, let's do it. And I got myself educated on social media, and I love it. I love it. And that's how I found my superpower. Like, my superpower is social media. But to my point is, how does one, like, let's say we have a lot of new people on the call, right? So how does one that has not joined a team yet, right, that has not built a relationship with somebody, learn what their superpower are when starting a multifamily or just real estate in general?
Great question. A lot of times it just takes you asking people that you really trust. Hey, what do you think is my strength? And be honest with me. You know, sometimes we don't like to hear it. Sometimes like, but hey, I'm really good at let's say, like, I'm a really good mechanic. I really like that. They're like, but you're really good at fix things in the house. Like, you can be a handyman. You can open a handyman company. But a lot of times it takes you to ask people and be open for that feedback, and really take a step back and start like realizing what you've done for the past 4 or 5 years, like how much that is really true, like how much that has impacted you and other people. And sometimes that's how you find your calling, you know, because we're surrounded by a lot of people that care about us, and a lot of times they'll tell us like, hey, I see this in you. And then you can just try it out and see if it fills your cup, and if it speaks to you, and if it is, chase your dreams, you know. It's very important.
Yeah, 100%, 100% Italo. And then, just coming back, because, it took us a little time to find the right team, right? I mean, we were involved in a 2 or 3 different syndications, right? And then finally, after 4, 5, 6 It's like we found the right team. I know that you are in an amazing team, in a team that is killing it, right? So, and I'm grateful for you guys for all of the things that you do and your team and everybody, right? But what are those practices that your team does, right? Because again, just going back to the investor relations, right? The best practices that you guys apply to align the interests as you as indicators, and then with the investors, right, to create a mutual benefit for you both.
Right. So it's funny. Like, let me just step back a little bit in here. Jonathan and Sergio, I remember the first time I saw y'all. Y'all came to our Jasmine Apartments. That's what I remember. And that's one of the things that I want to really touch right now. Like, and that's gonna, I think, answer your question. Jonathan and Sergio came to our Jasmine Apartments, which is an event where Neander plays a little bit of jazz, and we bring a guest to speak about real estate. And I got to talk a little bit with Sergio, with Jonathan in Dallas, and they told me their backstory, and they kept showing up in our events. They kept showing up, and that's what we do as Multifamily Empire. Answering a little bit of your question, we are about the community. We are about building your community, just like what you guys do here, which is amazing. Look at, there's 27 people in here on a Tuesday night. A lot of people don't be doing anything, like they just want to get home and watch TV. You guys are here learning. You guys are here investing in yourselves. And that's what Jonathan and Sergio was doing. Both of them were going to our events. They kept what? Showing up. They kept showing up. And then last year in August, we all went to the same event. We all went to the same event, the AIMNetCon. And we just exchanged a little bit of communication there. We're talking, and they invited us to what? To their happy hour. And that's the beginning of a big relationship that we have with you, Sergio, Yoshi, Tammy, all the guys from MIA. You know, like, we started from what? From showing up. And that's what we do at Multifamily Empire. We either show up or we invite you to show up. So it's an exchange. Like, we're gonna show up, support in your events. And we want y'all to show up, support on our events too, because in the end of the day, you're networking. Maybe you're not going there to learn anything, but you're gonna shake hands with somebody that is gonna change your life forever. You never know the people that are gonna cross your path in this industry, because it takes one look to the side and one handshake for you to be like, what do you do? Oh, I do this. And you guys connect. The next you know, we're invited into a deal. You're invited into another event that's going to show you another person. So keep showing up. And that's what we do at Multifamily Empire. We exchange. We make a little bit of that exchange. You know, like, we're so happy to give back to the community. We have the Empire Nation that we give back to, like, other people, to our properties. Like, we do all these things that basically speaks volumes about what we do, our core values. We want people like Jonathan, Sergio, Yoshi, Tammy, like people like that to keep coming to our events, because with them, guess what? There's a lot of people that trust them and they're gonna follow them. And with that, like, we build a community, and that's basically what we do at Multifamily Empire when it comes to investor relations. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, 100%. I just lost Josh in there, but yeah, I mean, Italo. So thank you for sharing that, man. I remember the first time we met, and then so we're about supporting each other, right? I mean, that's the way to grow, right? Because if we both support each other, right? So even if we have a different communities, right? So you guys have the Multifamily Empire, we have the Cash Flow Empire, so right, that's a funny, right? That we have something in common. And then if we both build these big communities, right? MIA and everything. Now we're growing, right? So now MIA Multifamily Empire, we're able to just acquire bigger properties, right? Just close bigger properties, right? Why to try to think that small and going alone in this journey, right? If we're just doing, why to take the headaches to take 30 or 40 units, if together we can get 200 units, right? So yeah, man. I mean, I'm totally aligned with you on this. And then as your role as an investor relation is key, man, because you're just coming with your background, right? Your similar background. So you're an immigrant, right? As the same as we do, right? So we didn't have those connections and family here, right? So just coming back to the point, right? Because when somebody is thinking about raising capital, right, and bring investors, the first people that they look at are people that they're around, right? Family, friends, that they have from high school and everything, right? So how are you taking this approach right now if you didn't have connections, right? So do you think that you can share a little bit about how you start building your surroundings, your connections?
Absolutely. Can I be 100% honest on this one? I think it's a touchy subject
Oh
in here, but I
yes.
think I think it's very important.
Please.
So have you ever noticed that whenever you're doing something new, whenever you're doing something that is a little bit outside of your comfort zone, I'm sorry, and other people around you, their comfort zone as well, they're gonna be the last people to invest in you. They're gonna be the last people to believe that what you're doing is gonna take you places. Okay, so whenever you want to do something, whenever you're starting a business, whatever, the people that are going to be supporting you are going to be the people that basically believe in you. It's not that your friends and family don't believe you, but a lot of times they have that like negative mindsets, like, oh my god, that's so out of your comfort zone, why are you doing this? They don't really push you forward. They don't really believe in what you're doing until you actually make it, and then they're going to be like, hey, can you support me on this and that. So it's tough, whenever you're starting something, whenever you're raising capital, because you're like, oh man, I have a big family, I have all these friends with money. I bet you 90% of the time they're not going to invest with you. I bet you 90% of the time these people are going to be like, oh man, I can't do it right now. But the people that you kept showing up to their event, the people that you kept showing up and supporting them in whatever they're doing, they're going to give back to you. They're going to be supporting you. They're going to be talking about whatever you're doing. If it's a restaurant, if it's a roofing company, if it's a car wash, a mobile car wash company, they're like, hey man, go wash this car. They're going to be the people that are going to be supporting you. So make sure your relationship with other people are always healthy, because they're going to be talking about you, and that's how you spread the word, and that's how you build community. It's not with your family. It's not with your close friends. Spread out, like get out of your comfort zone. Look up whatever you're doing. If it's a restaurant, look up restaurant conferences. Go there, meet new people, because that's going to be people like-minded. That's going to be people that understand what you're doing, and they're going to see it in you. They're going to be investing in you because they understand already the business you're doing. It's out of your comfort zone, not theirs. So they're ready. As long as you have a good product, you're halfway there.
Yes, no, 100%. And I always believe this, people, in order to somebody they invest with you, it needs to be some kind of they need to understand the business and they need to trust you, right? If you
Absolutely.
focus in those two, the people are going to be investing in you, in your business, in your dreams, right? In your vision. Because at the end, these are not dreams, right? This is actually goals that we have, and we're taking action towards those goals, right? But
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, it a lot. So and this is again, right? I'm really involved in the raising capital side and everything, right? So, and then I think that it's important to, the meaning of saying no, right? Because sometimes in order to be really successful in a plan, because we're in a 3 to 5 year business plan, right? So my question for you is like, do you always say yes to investors, or do you ever say no to somebody that say, okay, I want to invest in your deal, but then you see that maybe that's a problem if you say yes to them?
I don't think I've ever said no, but I've always asked them. Because whenever people invest in multifamily, for example, like you said, it's a 3 to 5 year cycle, right? If they want to invest 50K, which is usually the minimum amount that people would invest, and that's all they have as an emergency kind of like savings or whatever, I tell them like, I wouldn't do it. Because if you need to really get that money back quick, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. So you really got to understand, because a lot of times, like I said, once you start doing 1, 2, 3, 4 deals, your family and friends are going to start coming around. And that's when they talk to you like, hey, I want to invest with you. But you kind of already know their situation, and you can kind of advise them like, hey, maybe this is not for you just yet, but I will start saving for it. So you'd really advise people sometimes like, but in the end of the day, it's their decision, right? They know what they want to do, but as long as you are, again, transparent, honest, and you tell them like, hey, I would advise you to do this if it was me, but it's on you, but just understand how everything works on the multifamily sector. It's not just like flipping a house. You buy a house, you put your cash in, within 5-6 months, you sell the house, you get your money. No, that's not how it works. So again, being transparent, being honest, straightforward, explain everything, set the right expectations, and then you leave it with the person, right? So I never really said no, but I've always advised people.
I just dropped some bombs right now because, man, I appreciate your sharing this. And then for everybody, I want to see some fire on the chat because Italo is just going all in, sharing the information, right? So all just dropping bombs during the whole call, sharing with everybody, all his journey, how he started, right? He was in working as an IT bartender, like you went through everything, man. So I'm really grateful for you sharing this with us tonight. But yeah, I mean, can just going back to the community part, because I mean, I know that you guys have a podcast, you guys invest a lot of time in social media, right? Just to build trust from people, because social media is your new business card. That's how I tell everybody, people, they ask, okay, who are you? Let me check your social media, right? Before it was, yeah, just give me your business card. I will check your website, right? So what are those tips and practices that you guys do, right? Because you are really effective on this, that you can share with everybody.
Right. It is funny, right? If you look back, it's the same thing that happened with photography, right? Paper used to be the thing. Kodak thought they were big, like a big shot back then, and they're like, digital is not going anywhere. People like pictures. Same thing happened with business cards, just like you said. Right now, people don't even carry business cards anymore. They just tap their phone on other people's phone, and that's it. So evolve, right? You gotta evolve. You gotta really understand the market. You gotta really understand where people are buying from. When I say buying, it's not financially buying, but like really buying ideas, seeing things, getting inspired, right? Think about it. How crazy is this? Remember back in the day, whenever you're driving down the highway, how many billboards would you see? They were like back to back to back, stacked. Sometimes you wouldn't even be able to read one billboard before you got to the other. But now, the price of that billboard per month, I remember like one time somebody told me, I think it was in Florida, that people were paying like 15, 20K a week, depending on the spot, sometimes a month, for that billboard to be there. With $150, $200, depending on what you're doing on Instagram, you get more people to see your advertising than what you would get on the street, because people are just going by, flash, right? So that's like a 2-second time frame. Same thing happens on Instagram. You see an ad, if it gets your attention, you see it for more than 2 seconds. If not, it's just like you drove by, done, right? But you just reached 10 times more people on your Instagram, on your TikTok, or whatever it is, over something that is physical. So for us, when it comes to social media, the way we understand social media for us, like what we want to do is we want to give to the people what we want to see on other people's Instagram, right? We want value. We want to see things that will make you go somewhere, get inspired, and start doing something, learn, or whatever it is. But we want to make sure we're impacting you in the right way, that those 3 seconds, 10 seconds, sometimes 30 seconds time that we just got from you is being given back in return with something that's going to make you better. So that's our investment on social media when it comes to the Real Grind podcast. For example, the Real Grind podcast came down as an idea because, have you guys ever shared, think about this real quick, how crazy is coffee, right? Coffee. Have you ever shared a cup of coffee with someone that you don't like? You never invited somebody that you don't like to have a cup of coffee with you. If somebody that you don't like at work, you never tell them like, hey, let's go grab a coffee real quick. No, you tell them like, hey, I'll go grab my own coffee, But so coffee is a very important and intimate moment between two people, maybe more people, because you're just appreciating a very good beverage. And it goes way back to our childhood. Everybody here remembers the smell of coffee inside of their mom's house, grandma's house, or something. So we decided to take that approach of good coffee, which is a very special moment, plus all of our knowledge in multifamily and in the industry, and we'll bring people into the show to share their story, just kind of like what you guys are doing here. So they can share their story. They can show people where they came from, what led them to where they are right now, and inspire everyone. So that's what we do on the Real Grind. That's exactly what it is. We just want to give back to people. Like, hey, this guy was in the same situation that you were 10 years ago. Look where he is right now. So it is possible for you to do things. All you got to do is kind of figure out your path and get in the right circles, connect with the right people, network. Again, keep showing up, and those opportunities will come. But that's our goal in social media. That's what we do with these things. Like, we want to give back to people. We want to show you that there is a way for you to make it too, just like the people that come to the show and talk about their stories and all that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Just because I'm always trying to get people to get on social media and they just, I don't know what it is. Like, guys, it doesn't bite. Like, it's not gonna bite you. We were actually talking to my the team yesterday about them getting more on social media and they just don't want to. I'm like, no, you guys have to. Like, you guys see me posting all this content is intentional. Like, you guys have to be very intentional about your content. So thank you so much for sharing that today. Guys, if you guys don't know, Italo's like the coffee king. Like, they have so many varieties of coffees. I've been sharing their links on the chat, so go ahead and give them a follow. Anybody starting new in multifamily, what would be your advice?
Anybody that's starting right now?
Yes. And also share your hardships when it came to multifamily. What was some things that you found that were hard and how did you overcome them?
Okay. So for the people starting multifamily right now, don't be discouraged. Looks like a beast. You know, there's so many moving parts. There's so much to it. And it's kind of like an IT world for me, right? IT, you have the guy that just fixed the printer. You have the guys that makes the programs, the software. You have the guys that build the computer. So there's many paths that you can take within a certain industry. And it's no different with multifamily, right? For me, I'm the investor relations. In our company, that is the numbers person. Neander, he takes care of pretty much operations, right? So find your calling within that world and really invest your time in it. Because it's a little tough to be a jack of all trades when it comes to multifamily, because there's so many moving parts. And the first time the first big deal you get, you're gonna see that it's overwhelming, and you're gonna start spreading yourself too thin to the point where you're gonna start pretty much like, oh, I can do this well, but I'm lacking here, but let me put myself here. So you're gonna start trying to like split yourself in 3 or 4 parts to cover it all. So get really good at one thing, and you're gonna excel so much on it. Like, if you're good at underwriting, become the best underwriting you know. If you're good at finding deals, do that. If you're good at capital raising, do that. So like, always sharpen up your knives, like sharpen up your swords in there. Get ready for whatever comes your way. Be the best at that specific part of the business, and I think you're gonna be very, very successful at it. For me, when I first started in the multifamily world, the hardest thing for me was just learn all the lingo. You know, there's so many different things that I've ever seen before, because I was an IT guy. I was a medical recruiter, so I came from a completely different background. And Neander told me one day, I remember when I started, like, just keep soaking it in, keep listening in, keep like just showing up on these meetings and stuff, and just one day everything's just gonna fall into the plate, and you're gonna be like, oh wow, this all makes sense, you know. But just keep collecting those little puzzle pieces in there, even though you don't know where they go now. Put them in your pocket, because one day you're gonna be like, oh, I know where this goes, you know. So it's a lot of information to take in. It's a lot of responsibility, and but don't be discouraged by it, you know. Just take your time, learn your lane, and pedal to the metal on it.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Just because I feel like sometimes we want to do it all, right? Like, I am Hispanic and I have to have my hands in everything, right? But then with this, I learned that it's okay not to have my hands into everything. I have to trust my team. So that's just where trust comes into play, guys. Like, John is the numbers guy, Sergio's asset management, I handle social medias. And because that's my forte, right? I'm not gonna go dig my hands into the numbers because I'm not good there. So guys, find your strengths. Thiago, you have a question, go ahead.
Man, Italo has the $1 million hairstyle, like just Jonathan. I think those guys are falling like a hairstylist or something.
Social media, man.
Hey, question for you, Italo. Thank you for sharing so much here into the group. Even though you're more on the investment side, relationship,
Mhm.
you're exposed to different moving parts of the whole transaction. So
Yep.
when you go on a 3,000, view from what's happening on the, broader view, what is the most challenging part of the multifamily? Is it raising capital? Is it putting the deal together? Is it the deal flow? Is it underwriting? What do you think it's more challenging for you?
Um, Thanks for the question, man. And nice seeing you here. I saw your face earlier. I was like, I know this face. Good seeing you. Um, for me, to be honest with you, the hardest thing on anything you do in life are the things that you don't have control over. When it comes to multifamily, that comes to, I think the closest one will be raising capital because you're basically relying on all the information that's going on the news, right? And people get scared. They don't want to invest. They don't know where they're going to put their money. And capital raising, man, that's if you have that in you, go for it, man, because that's a skill set that is one of the most difficult things because you rely in so many moving parts comes to the relationship with people, if people trust you, what's happened with the economy. There's so many moving parts in there. That's a beast. If you're a good underwriter, nothing really changed. You're a good underwriter. If you're good at finding deals, you're gonna find deals. If you're a good operator, you're gonna be able to operate that just fine. But the capital raising part, that takes talent. And props to people that are good capital raisers because that's a beast on its own, man.
Appreciate it for the answer, too.
Absolutely.
Love it, love it, love it. Thank you for sharing that. And I feel you. I feel you.
Uh,
Just to kind of like we're getting to top of the hours. So do you think that you can share on a final piece of advice for everybody? Just for everybody that was today and they listen your story.
Absolutely. For me, I'll tell you all this. Money is great, but being good to people will always take you places that money will probably want. Money can only take you so far. Build good relationships. Make sure your network is healthy. Those are the people that are gonna push you to be the best version of yourself always. And that's no different with my role in my company, and that's no different with how I live my life. And I think because of those things combined, I am where I'm at today. I'm very thankful for the opportunities that were presented to me. And I think those are all things that I'm harvesting now because those are seeds that I planted way back then. So just keep showing up, be good to other people, keep networking, good things will come up to you.
Love it, Italo. Love it. And as you guys can see, thank you so much, Italo, for being with us tonight. I mean, as you guys see, Italo always have this high energy, always smiling, always like really grateful. Like he loves his life, right? That's how you see, always smiling, always happy. So, and that's one of the secrets. I mean, that's one of the secrets in terms of raising capital, in terms of connecting with people. If you guys have high energy, and you are transparent, that you just show you real yourself, right? People are going to connect with you, right? And if they understand the business, that's actually how they become investors. So yeah, Italo, thank you so much, man, for being with us tonight. And for everybody, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next week.